All right, so this is a quick demo for my newest version, beta version of the Twitchboard. Still needs a lot of refinement, but wanted to kind of sort of throw things out there and get some feedback. The previous Twitchboard I made, I just didn't like some aspects of the random process, and then I also wanted to be able to control things a little bit more finely, and we'll kind of show those going forward. As you can see, the basic chip runs on an A-Tiny, which is a nice economical chip, has the ability to be programmed separately. 12 volts in, and then supplies 12 volts out for whatever you want for your twitches and pulses. But the basic logic is stepped down to run on 5 volts for the A-Tiny. The 3 potentiometers that we have set up here are for frequency, sort of pulse wave modulation, or how dim or speed control things are. And then the last one is for duration. And so duration is kind of the most simple to think about. And so right now it's set for a duration of 150 milliseconds, which works well for a nice flash or for the door actuator motors work really well on that frequency. But if you wanted to have something that's going to be going a little bit longer, say a wiper motor or a spotlight or something like that, then you can dial things up. And so this dial runs from 150 milliseconds up to 10 seconds of duration of being on. And so I'm just going to sort of put it there. And so now you can see how it's still going to give us twitches. Not quite. But now they're sort of much, much longer. The next middle one is just a standard pulse wave modulation. And so all that does is just control the signal of what percentage of the pulses are being sent to the light or the motor that are on. So as with always with pulse wave modulation, with motors, you might get a little bit of a whining noise, and with LEDs, you may get a little bit of flickering. If you have particularly good vision or a decent camera, will pick up that sort of flickering. So that's just sort of something to be aware of. But if you wanted to sort of dial the brightness down, then that's certainly an option to be able to kind of do with it. And then I'll turn it back up. Go all the way down and all the way up. So you can control that. And then the last one is the frequency knob. The frequency knob is best thought of as generating randomly frequent events, and it's programmed to do 5 events per given time interval. The shorter end of the time interval is over just a few seconds. And then the mid-range, if you get all the way to sort of the 90 degrees, is going to be 5 events per 60 seconds. And so you should expect somewhere on the order of, an event on average every 12 seconds. But because of the random process, it can be much longer or much shorter as your wait between the pulses. And then you also can, if you wanted to go really high with this all the way up to the end, then I think I currently have it set to 5 pulses over an hour. And so if you wanted to have very, very rare movements of motors or twitches or something like that that was set up in the field, then that's certainly an option. The last bit we have is, as you can see, there's some headers here at the end. And what that does is if you have a button that's attached to that or a PIR sensor, which I'll demonstrate in just a moment, then that will automatically increase the random frequency of the events. Okay, so this is demonstrating the triggering with the Twitchboard. And so right now it's set for a low duration, so a very brief twitch, and a relatively infrequent. And so you might get an occasional pulse on your own, but whenever there was some sort of emotion in front of the PIR, you're going to get much more frequent pulses. And that'll last for as long as there continues to be motion, really as long as the PIR signal continues to give high signal back. So rather than a PIR sensor here, of course, one could hook up a button for remotely triggering increased frequency movements.
This is just a quick example of hooking the board up to a wiper motor. So you can see the duration's a little bit longer that I've dialed in here, but the frequency is similar. So you just kind of get random pulses of the same length of movement. And of course, a PIR sensor or a button could also work here to increase the frequency of these twitches or pulses.